British politician Nigel Farage leading the charge to get the UK to exit the European Union. He's been pounding the dangers of open immigration and the refugee crisis over there for a long time. What it all means for us right here, right now. To Fox Business Network's Charlie Gasparino live in London, and Dr. Jasser of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. Good to see you, gentlemen. Let's talk about immigration, and let me kick that off with you, Doctor, because this is really the crux of the issue, isn't it?
Oh, it really is, Marie, and I think what we're seeing is that despite the lack of leadership in Europe and with the rudderless EU, the British people have said, you know what, the only way to fight this is to dig our heels in and regain our nationalism. And the influx of millions of refugees who bring with them a lack of identity, a loss of Syrian nationalism, and the defeat of a significant force of ISIS, which is pushing them out, which is about Islamo-nationalism. The British are doing the right thing, digging their heels in and telling their leaders, you know what, we are going to protect ourselves, and it's about national security. In America, we're sort of seeing the same response.
But you know, Charlie Gasparino, now the question becomes, what do these new trade deals look like? What new agreement will the Brits negotiate to get to that $575 billion annual trade between the EU and the UK?
Yeah, I mean, Maria, it's a huge question, and you know, nobody knows here right now. I mean, you know, that's one of the reasons why the markets are all over the place today, is the very fact that, you know, there's incredible uncertainty on this side of the pond, especially more than even in the U.S. I mean, that was a trade. You know, the U.S. markets traded off about 600 points today, largely because of the uncertainty. Everybody had it priced in that, you know, Brexit would fail, Remain would stay, they would stay in the EU. So that sort of thing, that sort of like surprise hurt, you know, hurt our markets.
Sure.
But the bigger question here is what goes forward with the EU, and that's why the pound got pounded, and why, you know, stocks over here got pounded.
Yeah, for sure. Charlie, when you spoke with people over the last couple of days, you've been doing great reporting there in London. Were you getting the sense that it was the refugee crisis that was underlining the upset?
I'm losing my audio, Maria, and I'm sorry about this.
Okay, okay.
As great reporting as I had, it's always the technical difficulties that screw everything up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get at what the people on the ground are saying, and I'm wondering if the refugee crisis is one of the issues that kept coming up from the people that you're speaking with. Dr. Jasser, what about that? You know, Angela Merkel was very clear. We're open arms. Come to Germany. Come to the European Union. That was what was the upset for the UK. So where does that go now?
Well, the bottom line is it goes to where the people are trying to get back to tell their leaders, you need to declare war on the primary cancer, which is coming out of Syria, which is ISIS, and the refugees are a symptom. But the symptom is not just to bring them in, but to begin vetting against jihadism, against Islamism. They saw crimes and rapes and attacks on women throughout many countries. They saw the same cell commit an act of terror in Paris, and then in Belgium 4 months later being protected by a Muslim community that did not report them. So there is when you have leaders that don't have the courage to address the primary cancer, the people will dig their heels in with solutions which is related to national identity against this global Islamo-nationalism.
Right, and you know, it's really extraordinary that they kept pushing back on this idea, even as we learned that ISIS got their hands on a passport-making machine, even as we learned from John Brennan, the head of the CIA, that in fact ISIS has plans to infiltrate the refugee crisis, and yet the push to open up the borders was stronger than ever from the officials and those in charge.
Well, you know, listen, I have family in Syria that we pray stay safe, and we're trying to get them out. But, you know, as an American, I know the only way that we can win this is for the free world to declare war against this theocratic mentality. And Muslims who aren't able to come to terms with the social contract of the free world, which is secular, the equality of men and women, and all the other aspects of what gives us national identity. And the EU lost a lot of that identity and wasn't willing to confront that, but basically said by opening their arms, then somehow that's going to solve the ideological problem. And the people knew that it didn't. And I think the UK now, through Brexit, is trying to begin to solve that problem.
Charlie, you back with us. Is that what you heard from the people on the ground?
Yes, thank you.
Refugee crisis, that was really the upset?
Well, That was one of them. The fact that they believe Britain puts a lot more into the EU than they get out. And let me just make something really clear. No one here is against immigration. I wouldn't be here, Maria. You wouldn't be here. Or the other guests wouldn't be here without immigration. The problem is when you have unfettered immigration, years and years of non-stop immigration, particularly of very poor people, it has a very dire economic impact on society. And here's the other thing. There is a cultural issue. In the past, people came in waves. It corresponded with the demand and the need for labor. If you have immigration that's nonstop, there's a point where people don't assimilate. They can't assimilate. You're bringing in people after they've assimilated, even more people that haven't assimilated. So I think that's one of the problems that they're dealing with here. We're dealing with it in the U.S., and this is one of the outcomes of that.
All right, we will leave it there. Gentlemen, good to see you both. Thank you so much. Dr. Jasser, Charlie Gasparino.